the expiations on the Hajj Mahdurat in the Hanbali school. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Salatu salam ala Rasul al-Kareem. Rabbana taqabbal minna zidna ilma wa hikma wa huda. As'alullaha an yuwafiqna lima yuhibbu wa yarda. An yanfa'na ma allamana bima yanfa'na. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad abduka wa rasuluka nabiyyil ummi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam taslima. A'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina min sayyiati a'malina. Allahumma atina nufusana taqwaha wa zakkiha anta khayru man zakka anta waliyuha wa mawlaha lahum shukana. Amma ba'd. All the praises belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of the worlds. Everything, Allah made everything over here. Allah is going to make the day of judgment come, and everything is going to be over. And may Allah's blessing be upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi Muhammad wasallam, and the peace be upon him. He's an example that we follow, and all the believers in the world, they continue on his message of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that's what we do also. And may Allah salawatu salam on be on his Prophet messenger. So today we're going over the expiations on the Hajj, the kafaratul Hajj. What happens is when people, they go on the Hajj, they might make mistakes and they might do something that they weren't supposed to do. And what they have to do is they have to fix it up. And what happens is they do the kafara, and that fixes up the problems in the Hajj, and the Hajj is completely valid. There's no faults in the Hajj. So then this is by Ahmad Ibn Ahmad, may Allah, Imam al-Sunnah, who says the things based on the hadiths and the knowledge that he learned from the narrations from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's explained by the Ibn Qudamah al-Maqdisi. He is a main student of Imam Ahmad Ibn Hanbal, and he has a summary, the Mukhtasar in Umdah of the things about in the Hanbali school. So this is the expiation kafara on the Hajj. Okay, so the Sheikh, he says there's two types of kafaras okay, do you read number one, what it says there?
The first of the two is of a choice.
Yes. The first kafara, a person, what they do is they can choose which one they want to do. They can either feed, or they can fast, or they could do a sacrifice. Like Allah says in the Quran, siyamun or sadaqatan or nusuk. Siyamun, they can fast, or sadaqatan, or they can give the sadaqah, the charity, or nusuk, means to sacrifice an animal. So they have a choice on these three. They can choose any one of the three that they like. That's the first type. The other type is a person, they have to go in a sequence. They have to do the first thing, then if they can't do the first thing, then they go to the second one. If they can't do one, is the third one. So that's what he mentions. The first type is one where a person, they have a choice. Okay, so you read number two, Sheikh Ibrahim?
Expiation for being in harm or clothes or sand.
Yes. So what happens is a person, when they're in the Ihram, in the Hajj, in the Umrah, then what happens is the harm, sometimes a person, what they have to do is they have, like in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a person, they had lice in their hair. So what they did is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him to shave his hair, but he still had to do the expiation even though he had lice in it. So some of the things, even though a person, they're harmed, they still have to do the expiation. And the other thing is in the clothing. In the clothing, you're not supposed to wear the khiyata, the stitched clothing, and it means stitched together. It means going around the limbs or going around the body. If it's tied together, then it's not allowed. If it's opened up, then that's fine. Like the rida and the izar, it's like the towels that are completely open. But if it's joined together at the ends, then you can't, it's not allowed to wear them. And that refers to the shirts and the pants also. And the third thing is the scent. A person, they can't put perfume or musk or oud and those things on them while they're in the ihram. Those were the prohibitions of the ihram. So if they do any of those things, then they have a choice on what to do. That's what the Sheikh says. Would you like to read number three?
Yeah. Choice between fasting or feeding or sacrifice.
Yes. So that's what I mentioned before. They have a choice between siyam, fasting. Fasting is, you don't eat and drink and have the sexual relation in the daytime. You do that for a number of days. It'am, you feed the people. He talks about that later, how much you have to feed. And the nusuk is either to sacrifice a sheep, or in some cases you have to sacrifice a camel. So depending on what the thing is. He talks about that later on, what they are. So those are the three things. But basically for the things mentioned above, You can choose which one of those three are, and the sacrificing is just for a sheep. Sacrifice a sheep, or do the fasting, or or giving the sadaqah. Okay, let's read number 3.
Yeah. Fast 3 days.
Okay, the fasting, you fast for 3 days, thalatha ayyam. If you've done one of those things that are prohibitions, what he mentioned is things that cause the harm for a person, or the clothes, or the scent. And if you've done that, then one of the things you could do is fast for 3 days, thalatha ayyam. Okay, read number 5.
Feed 3 sa of dates for 6 needy.
Yes. So you feed for 6 poor people, you feed 3 sa, half a sa for each person. And what that is, nowadays the ulama, they say that 1 sa is 1.5 kilograms of food. Some of the ulama say they're 2.5 kilograms. But basically a sa, what you do is you put your 2 hands together and you fill it. That's 1 mud, and 4 of those is 1 sa. 4 of those is 1 sa. So the sheikh, he said over here that you have to do 3 sa, which is 12 of the mud to 6 poor people. So you give 2 mud for each poor person. Basically, you do that. No? That's the second thing that you do, the second choice. And number 6, the third one.
Or slaughter a sheep or goat.
Yes, and the term that they use is shot, and what that is a person, they slaughter a sheep or a goat. And the thing is, if you ever shepherded sheep and goats, it's very hard to tell them apart.
Yeah.
You know, a sheep and a goat, you can't tell the difference. It's very hard to tell the difference. And the difference is only the sheep have wool on them, and the goat, they have fur on it. That's only the difference. Besides that, it's very hard to tell them. And people would keep them together in the same place, and that's the term with it is the shot. And so that's the third thing that they could do if they don't do the things above, which is to fast 3 days or feed 6 people, half a sa each person. Then they can also slaughter a sheep or a goat and give it to the poor people, inshallah. Okay, read number 7.
For hunting a similar animal that was hunted.
Yes. So if a person that's not allowed to hunt, and it's not allowed to send somebody to hunt animals, so if they've done that, then what they have to do is expiation. They have to give in charity an animal that's similar to the one that they hunted. They have to give that in the charity. So he talks about that later on, what is due on hunting the animals. If a person, they did that while in the Ihram, in the hajj and the umrah. Okay, let's read numbers 8.
Except for bats, the expiation is its value.
Yes. So that's what the sheikh said in Qudamah in the Hanbali school. For birds, like you have pigeons and you have other birds that are there, if a person, they hunted them, then what they do is they give its value in sadaqah. They give how much it's worth in the sadaqah. Because the ruling is basically that you have to give the same value as the animal that you hunted. But the birds, then that's what the sheikh, he said, the birds, you give its value in the sadaqah instead of giving a bird that's similar to it. But there's exceptions to some birds too, so that's what he mentions in number 9.
Except pigeons, except an ostrich, a camel.
Yes. So on the birds, you give its value in sadaqah, except the pigeon, hammam, they say in Arabic, and the hammam, the pigeon, you have to sacrifice the sheep and give it its value in the charity. And then for an ostrich, you have to give a camel. So those are the 2 birds that you have to give, not its value, but a sheep or a camel. Yeah, this is very interesting, inshallah. Okay, to read number 10.
One can choose between giving similar or its value in feeding a mud to every needy, or fast a day for every mud.
Yes. All right, so these things here, a person, they have a choice. They have a choice from giving something that's similar in the hunting, or they can also give its value to the poor people, or the mud for the needy on its value, like how much the mud it's worth on the value of the bird, or they can fast a day for every mud. Every mud. A mud again is 2 handfuls. So let's say, for example, a person, they hunted a bird, not a pigeon, not an ostrich, but a different type of bird. Then you find out what's its value, and then you find out, like let's say its value is 3 dirham or 3 dinars or something like that, or 3 riyals you have now. then the 3 riyals, how much of food that you have, so you give that value in muds, in food. And then the other thing that you can do is you can find out how many muds of food that is and fast every day for each mud. That's what the Sheikh said. That's the thing for it. Okay, so let's go to number 11.
Yeah. The second type to go in sequence.
Yes, the second type of expiation kafara, you have to do the first thing first. And then if you can't do the first thing, then you do the next thing. So that's what he said. It's not like the other things there where you can choose what to do. You could choose to fast, or you could choose to feed the poor, or you could choose to slaughter an animal. This one you have to do it in order. You have to do this first, then you can't do the other things. And he talks about what that is. It is number 12.
Yeah, this is the one that does mutamattu, umrah, then hajj.
Yes, you read the next two.
He has to give a sip. If he can't, then fast 3 days in hajj and 7 on return.
Yes, this is mentioned in the Quran. It talks about فَمَنْ تَمَتَّى بِالْأُمْرَةِ إِلَى الْحَجِّ. What that means is the person, they do the umrah first, then they do the hajj after it, and then what happens is the person, what they have to do is they have to فَمَا اسْتَيْسَرَ مِنَ الْهَدِي. That means what's easy from a gift, which means the person, they slaughter a sheep or a goat, for the tamattu or the kiran, where they do the umrah first and then do the hajj. And we talked about this in the other lesson. That is, if a person, they go there in Mecca in the months of hajj, which is after Ramadan, Shawwal, Dhul Qiddah, Dhul Hijjah, and then they take off their ihram, then they do the hajj also, they're considered to be a mutamatti. That means somebody that does the umrah first and the hajj, they have to give a sacrifice in the animal, which is a sheep or a goat, or 1/7 of a camel, or 1/7 of a cow. They have to give that if they do the umrah first and the hajj, and that's what most people do. That type of hajj, they do the hajj tamattu, umrah first and the hajj. They have to do that. And if they can't give animal, then what they have to do is they have to fast for 10 days. This is what's mentioned in the Quran. ثلاثة أيام في الحج والسبعة إذا رجعتم. 3 days in the hajj and 7 when a person they return back home. So that's the 2 sequences that they have to do. Okay. Nowadays, what happens is when people they go there in the hajj, what they do is they have the tickets. So a person, they purchase a ticket, and then they sacrifice an animal on behalf of the person. You know, if you go over there to the place there.
Because like maybe the people are too much, like everyone cannot be sacrificing.
Yes, I mean, you know, it's very hard to bring your own animal or find an animal, so they have that there. They have butchers that do that, and you purchase a ticket, and then in that ticket, what they do is they sacrifice an animal on the behalf, and they distribute it and everything. They have that, which is easier nowadays when a person they go there for the hajj. So a person they have to do that if they did the umrah first and then they did the hajj afterwards. They were required to do a sacrifice hadi.
So like all the people that went to hajj, every single one of them used to make a sacrifice, right?
If they did the umrah first and then the hajj afterwards. There's 3 types of hajjs. There's the hajj tamattu, hajj kiran, and hajj ifrad. And the tamattu, a person, they do the umrah first, then they take off their ihram, then go back there on the 8th, and then do the hajj. The kiran is that they start the umrah first and they keep their ihram on. They don't take it off, and then they go and they do the hajj afterwards. And the ifrad is they just do the hajj by itself. No umrah beforehand. Yes.
So like the tamattu is the one that makes, the one that does the sip, like he's the one that gives the sip.
Yes. If you do the umrah first, then the hajj afterwards, you have to sacrifice an animal. That's a requirement for it, and they call that tamattu hajj. And فَمَا اسْتَيْسَرَ مِنَ الْهَدِي, that's what it says. You have to sacrifice what's easy from a camel, from an animal, a sheep, goat.
I say like kiran is the harder one, like because after umrah they stay on their ihram.
Yes.
Till hajj. Like the kiran.
Yes.
Like after umrah they stay on their.
In the ihram, yes. Can you slaughter in the ihram?
Yeah.
Yes, it's allowed to slaughter domesticated animals. It's not allowed to hunt. So if you have sheep and goats or cows or camels, you can slaughter them, that's allowed. But if you have wild animals, the animals that run like deer, rabbits and lizards and things like that, you can't hunt them. That's not allowed. But if you have regular animals that you have that are domesticated, that you keep for yourself, sheep and goats and cows and camels, no, you're allowed to slaughter them. Even in the ihram, you can do that. You're allowed to do it. Yep. Okay, that's a good question, inshallah. Okay, inshallah.
the expiation for sex is a camel.
Which number we're on? We're on number 13. Did we do 13?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, we did 13 and 14.
Yeah.
Okay, so if a person they can't do the sacrifice, then they have to fast for 10 days.
Yeah.
3 days while they're there on the Hajj trip. Then when they get back home, fast 7 more days. That's the expiation for people if they don't do the sacrifice in it. That's what they have to do.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to number 15.
Yeah. The expiation for sex is a camel.
Yes, so this is very serious, you know. The things that a person that they do, they have to avoid them. And the thing that voids the Hajj is having the sexual relation. If a person, they go there with their wife and they have the sexual relation, then the Hajj is void. And what they have to do is they have to sacrifice a camel as well. That's the expiation for it. Okay? And then he talks about the next thing.
Yeah. If one can't, then the fasting as a mutamattu.
Yes. Then if a person, if they can't expiate a camel, they're unable to, if they had the sexual relation, then they do that of a mutamattu, which is 3 days in the Hajj and 7 days when they get back home, fasting 10 days. That's what the Sheikh he said. You know. Okay, if a person that had the sexual relation, but the thing about that is the Hajj is void; it doesn't count. And the person they have to do that expiation, which is to give a camel, they can't give a camel, then they fast the 10 days, and the Hajj is void, and they have to repent,
Yeah.
and they have to finish the rest of the things in the Hajj, and they have to repeat it the next year. They have to do all those things, which is very serious if a person that had the sexual relation in the state of the first Ihram. You know. Okay, let's go to number 17.
Likewise is the ruling for the sacrifice of missing Hajj.
Yes. What happens is if a person they're prevented from completing the Hajj, فَإِنْ أُحْصِرْتُمْ فَمَسْتَيْسَرَ مِنَ الْهَدْيِ. That means if you're stopped from completing the Hajj, then a person they also have to give a sacrifice for an animal as well. That's what the Sheikh said. And if you can't do sacrifice an animal, then the same deal. 3 days you fast in the Hajj and 7 days when you get back. This is mentioned in the Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah, that's what it's mentioned there. وَإِنْ أُحْصِرْتُمْ فَمَا اسْتَيْسَرَ مِنَ الْهَدْيِ فَمَنْ لَمْ يَجِدْ فَصِيَامُ ثَلَاثَةَ أَيَّامٍ فِي الْحَجِّ وَسَبْعَةٍ إِذَا رَجَعْتُمْ. That's what it's mentioned there. All right, number 18.
The one that is prevented completing Hajj necessitates blood.
Yes, that's what's mentioned in the Quran. If a person, they started the Hajj and they were unable to finish it, then they have to sacrifice an animal. That's what the Sheikh is repeating the previous point, you know. So that's the requirement of it, and that's the case unless the person they made that condition in the beginning. That's mentioned in the other lesson. If a person they say, "In habastani for mahilu haythu mahabastani," when the person they start the ihram, if they do that, then they don't have to do the sacrifice. They make that as a condition for the Hajj, and they're not required to do it. I think he might mention that as a point. Okay, inshallah. So I'll read number 19.
If he is unable, then fast 10 days.
Yes. So if you can't do the sacrifice, then you do the 10 days, 3 days in the Hajj, and 7 when you return. All right. Okay, number 20.
If one repeats the type of forbiddance beside killing, there is one expiation.
Yes. So if a person they did it more than once, the prohibition in the ihram, then they only have to do one expiation for it. Like for example, cutting the hair. Let's say a person they cut their hair 20 times. They only do one expiation. The fasting 3 days or feeding 6 people or sacrifice, they don't have to do 10 different ones in the case of those prohibitions. Or they put scent on them so many times that there's only one. And the other, Darcy said that you have to do it 3 times or more than the expiation, so that's a different issue. And also like cutting the nails, if a person they cut their nails like 20 times, there's only one expiation. There's not 20 expiations for that. And there's only one expiation besides the hunting. The hunting, there's one for each one. If a person, if they hunted one time and got a deer, a gazelle, and then another time he did another gazelle, then he's got to do 2 of them. That's the case for the hunting. But the other things, it's only one expiation. Yep. All right, so number 21.
If one did the expiation before doing the same forbiddance a second time, the ruling of the second expiation of it is excused
Yes. Uh, okay, so the thing is, what this is saying is, like, let's say a person, they cut their nails several times, like 4 or 5 times, then they did the expiation for it, like feed 6 people, or they sacrifice an animal. Then afterwards, they cut their nails more. So he said that the first expiation they did is sufficient. You don't have to do another one again. So that's what he said. Even if it was afterwards, if it's for the whole hajj, it counts as one expiation for doing that deed. You know, that's what he says. Even if the expiation was done before it, that's what he means by it. Okay, all right. Let's go to the next one, number 22.
If one did forbiddance of different types, then an expiation for each of them.
Yes. So if a person they did different things, then they have to do an expiation for each one of them. Like for example, if a person they shave their hair or cut their hair more than 3 times, then they gotta do one expiation. Then they cut their nails, they gotta do another expiation. They put on scent, they gotta do an expiation. They got 3 different expiations. So it's not one for several different things that a person they did, one for each different type of thing that they did. Yep. All right, inshallah.
So saving and trimming nails and sex and killing to you is the same, whether it was on purpose or powerful.
Yes. So all these things that's mentioned there, trimming the nails and the sexual relation, or cutting the hair, whether it was done on purpose or forgetfully, it's the same. You know, the same thing. A person they have to do the expiation, even if they forgot. You know, for those things. You know. But there's one, and then 24 he talks about it. The rest of them, he says, then you don't.
For the rest of the prohibition, there is nothing because of forgetfulness.
Yes. For the other things, he says that there's not an expiation for it if a person they did it forgetfully, and those things are like the scent. If a person they put the scent on forgetfully, there's nothing due on the person. And you know, you look at the different things that are there, except those 3 things that are mentioned. Those things that are mentioned, then if a person that did them forgetfully, then there's nothing due on a person if they forgot about it. No. That's what he says. Just those things mentioned above, the cutting the hair or trimming, the trimming the nails and the sexual relation, and the hunting. Those are their expiations. But the other things, if they did it forgetfully, then there's nothing due on the person. That's what the Shaykh said. Okay, let's go to 25.
Every had a sacrifice or food for the needy of the haram.
Yes, for the sacrifice, where a person they have to sacrifice a sheep or a goat, it has to go to the poor people in the haram, in Mecca. You know, the poor people of Mecca, it has to go there. That's what he said when you do the sacrifice. You know. So that means a person they can't, they shouldn't do the one at home, their homeland, but they're in Mecca. That's what he said. Okay. That's it. Number 25.
Except for expiation of harm, divide it in the place where one saved because of it.
Okay. All right, inshallah. So he says in the expiation of harm, this refers to like if there's lice on a person they shave their head, so they could do it in the place where they are for the expiation. Because what happens is a person they can still stay in ihram, you know, and not be in Mecca. They could go back to a different city. If they do like for example the Hajj Qiran, for example, they go there and do the umrah, and they keep their ihram on, and they're in the state of ihram. Then they can go all the way back to Jeddah, or they can go all the way back to even Sudan or Somalia, other places, and still keep their ihram on. So in those places, if a person they had harm, like if their hair, if they got lice in their hair, they shaved their hair, or the nail broke, then actually in the nail breaking there's no expiation on it. But if something else is harmful, and they have to do the expiation, they can do it in the place where they are. It doesn't have to be at Mecca. That's what the Shaykh is saying, though. Because you can still be in a state of ihram and leave the Mecca area. You don't necessarily have to stay there. But usually people, they're only in the ihram in the Mecca area. But you can leave the area also in the state of ihram. You know, like if you start the hajj, for example, and you put on your ihram for the hajj, then if you want to go to a different city, come back, you could do that. and still be in a state of ihram on that. Okay, inshallah. Let's go to number 24.
I think
Oh, we did 24, right?
yeah, we are going to 27.
27, yes.
Yeah. The Hajj is sacrifice from being prevented from pleasing Hajj. On sacrifices it in its place.
Okay. So what this is if a person, they started the Hajj
Yeah.
and they put on the Ihram, then what happens is a person, they're prevented, they weren't able to
Yeah.
reach Mecca, or they weren't able to reach the Haram area,
Yeah.
then they give the sacrifice where they are. Like for example, let's say somebody, they're coming from England, for example, and they put on their Ihram at the airport, and then the plane went, and the plane went back and landed in England, and the person, they were prevented from
Yeah.
doing the Hajj.
Yeah.
Then what happens is he has to give the sacrifice, and he can do it there in England. You know, he doesn't have to do it in Mecca if that's the case, because he was prevented from doing the Hajj.
Yeah.
But some of the ulama, they say uhsirtum, it means, you know, the enemy, you know, they stop you from going. They say something like that. It's not. So you look on that on what's considered to be what prevents a person also. All right, so that's what it says. If a person, they're prevented, if they put on their ihram, then they can give the sacrifice for prevention where they are. But usually, what's recommended is to put on the ihram close to the miqat boundary. And but what happens is the miqat boundary, sometimes it's far from Mecca. So if a person, they put it close to it and they went a little bit, but then they were prevented from going into Mecca to do the Hajj, then they do the sacrifice of a sheep or a goat or 1/7 of a camel where they are. They don't have to necessarily do it in Mecca. Okay, inshallah. All right, so we got one more, number 28.
Yeah. As for fasting, it is allowed every place.
Yes. So when you do the 10 days of fasting, or if you fast for 3 days, then it can be done any place. You know, it doesn't have to be done in Mecca necessarily. Like for example, if a person, they shave their hair in the ihram, then they can fast for 3 days or feed 6 people or give the sacrifice. So if they choose to fast 3 days, they can do it while they're there for the Hajj in Mecca, or they can go home and do the 3 days at home, to fast the 3 days at home. That's what the Shaykh said. All right, inshallah. So this is the things that's mentioned about the expiation for things that they do in the ihram, the things that are forbidden in the ihram, and this is from, all these things are mentioned in the hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the explanation in the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's good for people to know about these things. There's a lot of things for the Hajj for a person to learn, you know, a lot of rulings for it, and it's good. And this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it, the Hajj. Allah set down the commandments for Ibrahim alayhi salam, and then Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he explained all these things, and then the people that learned it from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they teach us, you know, the rituals and the ordainments for it. And the thing to bear in mind is that most everything, you know, a person, they can make expiation for, they can fix it. Just a sexual relation, a person, they got to be very careful. If they have the sexual relation in the ihram, then their Hajj is void. You know, you can't fix it. You know, Hajj doesn't count. All the other things, you know, a person, they can do an expiation for it, and then the Hajj is valid and it counts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willing. And also the other thing to bear in mind, make sure that you go to Arafat on the day of Arafat. So that's the other thing. If you miss that, then your Hajj, the Hajj doesn't count. But the other things that you miss, you can make up for it, inshallah, Allah willing, inshallah. Okay, inshallah, so we'll stop over here. Do you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, I think it's good. But like nowadays, most of the people, if they go to Hajj, what did they do? Did they perform umrah, then Hajj, and how did they do it?
Yes, most people, they do the Hajj tamattu. So they go there, they do the umrah first, they do the Hajj afterwards. And what happens is the ulama, they differed on what's the best type of Hajj, whether it's tamattu or whether it's ifrad or whether it's kiran. So there's different views of the ulama. But most people, what they do is they do the tamattu Hajj. They go there, they do umrah first, then they do the Hajj afterwards. And if you do that, then you have to, you know, give a sacrifice, hadi, and they buy a ticket then to give the sacrifice. And a person that are unable to do that, then they have to fast the 10 days.
Yeah.
That's a ruling for it. That's what people they do nowadays.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if a person, if they want to be wise, maybe they could just do the single hajj,
Yeah.
hajj ifrad,
Yeah.
and that's what the sheikh he mentions also, that the
Yeah.
person they could do the hajj first
Yeah.
and do the umrah afterwards.
Wow, okay.
Then they've done both the hajj and the umrah.
Yeah.
But in this case, a person they don't have to give the hadi. In that case, they don't have to give the sacrifice. But anyway, it's still the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, the Udhiyah. So a person, they would give the sacrifice anyway for Eid, for that occasion. So that's another issue. That's good, inshallah. Okay, inshallah, we'll stop over here. If I said anything from the ilm, take it. Anything from myself, disregard it. Allah knows best, and may peace and blessings be upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.